it's something about them constantly giving us these aggressively unappealing sex scenes with Cooper Saxe that just, it's not sitting right with my spirit. And I mean, like, he ain't had a sex scene in a minute. I'm just saying. Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe. If you're returning to Fiercely V, welcome back. So happy to have you. We are here today to talk about Power Book 2 Ghost, Episode 2, which is titled Selfless Acts, ? If you're here because you just finished watching my review of Episode 1, hey. And if you have not yet watched my review of Episode 1, go ahead and check that out first and then come back. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the review of Episode 2. So we start off similar to Episode 1 with Tariq having a nightmare about all these bodies that he has collected. He wakes up, we see that he has still kept this phone, even though he really needs to get rid of it because the police already called the phone. They traced it to the campus and he still hasn't gotten rid of it. So it's just, at this point, the longer he keeps his phone, the more likely he's gonna get caught. So, but he's waiting for his mom to reach out. So he doesn't want to get rid of it, which, you know, it's sad at the end of the day. But he wakes up from his nightmare. We see he still has a phone. And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 police are banging on his door. He's like, come on, we got to take you to the police station. They drag him down to the police station. At this point, we don't know why. But remember, the last episode ended with Detective Whitman calling that phone. And Tariq answered. He didn't say nothing, but he answered. And now they know the phone is on the campus somewhere. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? Then we see Cain. He's chilling with the TGT dude that I don't trust. And he ends up getting a text from Mecca who wants him to go and meet him. And so he's going to go meet up with Mecca. Meanwhile, the TGT dude is just kind of looking real suspicious about the whole situation, which just makes me more suspicious of the TGT dude because it's like, you really shouldn't even be alive. Like, honestly, I still don't fully understand why Cain insists on keeping him alive or why Cain just like really trusts him like that. But for whatever reason, Cain seems to trust this guy to have his back, I guess. So anyway, Cain decides to go meet up with Mecca while the TGT dude is just looking hella suspicious about it. So I'm just like, what's going on in your mind? What are you about to do? Something stupid, I bet. Meanwhile, Councilman Tate is meeting with Stern. He's talking to Stern about the fact that he's going to be trying to get a Congress seat. And Stern is like, nah, how about instead you go be an adjunct faculty at the school because, you know, they had another black dude and now he's dead. You know, Stern be on the racism stuff. So he's like, you know, one black guy gone, you're another black guy. Come on, you know? And Councilman Tate is just like, I don't want to do that. I want to politics. Like, politics is my thing. Not, you know, not being a faculty at a school. But Stern is just basically like, it'll look good, you know, it'll give you some visibility. And then he's like, also, you know, you got to consider your coworkers up there too. And then he like shows him a picture of Professor Carrie Milgram, to which Councilman Tate is just kind of like, yeah, you know, that's true. You sure know me well. And it's just like, it was very gross. It was giving very much Predator. Why are you just looking at this woman's photo and just assuming that you're gonna be able to, like, it was gross. It made me very uncomfortable. It made me very uncomfortable. But then also in the back of my mind, I was like, she probably is gonna sleep with him. She probably is. Anyway, back at the police station, where they have taken Tariq in, we find out that it's not about the Jabari situation at all. It's actually his grandmother has gotten a DWI, driving while under the influence, while Yasmin was in the car. So the police are like, we gotta take her. Like, Granny gotta stay in jail overnight or whatever until she sobers up or something, I guess. But Yas cannot go back with her. She's gonna have to go into foster care. So it's a really sad scene. We see Yaz just basically getting taken away by a child family foster care person, and she's crying. She wants to go with Tariq, but it's like, again, Tariq can't do nothing about it. He lives on campus. He can't take her there with him. So it's just like, he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So back to Cain. He shows up at Mecca's house, and it's this really, really like luxurious, decked out condo, glass ceilings everywhere, like just super nice. So he's walking through the dude's house, and he goes to meet with Mecca, and as they're chatting on the security camera, Mecca is like, who told you to bring him? And he sees on the security camera that it's the TGT or GTG. Keep forgetting what it's called. I don't know what I've been calling it in the last review, but GTG, TGT, whatever it is, it's him showing up, just showed up at the house randomly. And not only is he just randomly there, but he got his phone out. He's, look like he's like going live on social media or something. And Mecca is like going off on him. He's like, why are you, who told you to come here? Cain is like, didn't nobody tell you to show up here? And Mecca is just like, why would you want a video trail of everywhere you've been and da-da-da? Before TGT Jude showed up, Mecca and Cain were just talking about how, like, Mecca, he understands that Cain wants to be in business with him, but he's just not really sure if Cain is ready, and he's just really trying to see before he takes that step. And so once the TGT Jude comes up, he's like, see, you not ready. These are the kind of people you got around you. You not ready. He grabs TGT Jude up, and he grabs his hand, and he just starts breaking all his fingers while he's talking to Cain. He's like going off on Cain. He's like, see, you not ready. Crack, like breaking all the dude's fingers. Oh, it was so hard to watch. Like, I felt it for him. Like, I felt it. I was like, okay. So basically what we're establishing here is that this Mecca dude is very dangerous and not to be played with. Got it. He ends up sending Cain away and basically being like, see, like, you're not ready for this. So we see Councilman Tate showing up at the school. Of course, he's gonna be like the new professor in Jabari's place, teaching the canonical studies class with Professor Milgram. He shows up, he's being hella flirtatious with her, hella creepy. It's giving very creepy, very predatory. But Professor Milgram is like not having it. She's like, you're not even a professor. Like, they literally just threw another random black man in here as if anybody can teach this class. Like, you're not qualified the way Jabari was. Like, they just threw you in here as a fill-in. She is just not here for it. But, clearly Councilman Tate is not going to take the hint. He's going to continue this flirtation regardless of her obvious disgust and obvious rejection. It's giving very creepy. Meanwhile, Detective Whitman, he's pulling up on Professor Milgram's sponsor. Of course, she's a sex addict, and I don't remember if she's an alcoholic too or just a sex addict, can't remember. But either way, he pulls up on her sponsor. The sponsor is the one that Professor Milgram was talking to when she was like, yeah, I'm going to meet a new guy. And then it turned out that she was going to identify Jabari's body because Kevin Whitman is a sociopath. Yeah. Detective Whitman pulls up on her and is like, how do you know Carrie Milgram? Why is she calling you X amount of times per day? Are you and her involved in criminal activity? And it's just like questioning her and just being hella extra. Like, I do not like this detective. Something is off about him. Like, something is off about him. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something is just very off about him. But either way, he's like, I'm gonna take you in for questioning if you don't tell me, da-da-da. And so finally the lady's like, look, I'm her sponsor. It's not like that. I'm her sponsor. And so he's just like, well, I need to ask you some questions. So he ends up talking to the sponsor and asking her questions about the situation with Carrie and Jabari. Meanwhile, Zeke is at the school having like a little press conference to announce that he is not going to be playing another year at school. He's going to actually go ahead and enter the draft so that he can go directly to the league. Meanwhile, Braden, who still has all the drugs in the trunk of his car, is trying to get in touch with Tariq because they need to do something with them. Like, they need to move them. They're supposed to be, they're supposed to be moving them. And so he can't get in touch with Tariq. He's pissed off about it. He ends up just putting the car in his parents' garage and just leaving it there. And so when he gets to Tyreek, he's super pissed off at him because, like, I was trying to get in contact with you. We needed to do this. I couldn't reach you. And so then Tyreek is telling him about the situation that happened with his little sister and how his sister got taken into foster care and stuff. And, he's like, oh, man, I'm sorry about that. And Tyreek basically lets him know, like, look, you're going to need to handle the drug stuff by yourself for a while because I just got too much stuff going on. And like Braden, he's kind of like feeling himself. He's like, oh, you trust me enough. Like, you trust me enough to, So it's very clear that, Braden is like feeling himself and he is happy to be like able to be given like more responsibility with the drug stuff because he's just so excited to be a drug dealer, It's giving very much Tommy Egan, except Tommy Egan wasn't rich, educated, and affluent. So Monet and Diana are at their bar. Of course, it's been closed ever since the shooting happened where Drew got shot, and they're basically just working with some contractors trying to get them to like reopen the bar as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Diana is telling Monet like, hey, what if I enroll at Stansfield and I can get an accounting degree so that I can manage Zeke's books once he goes pro. If we're all just going to be like a part of his like little entourage, a little team or whatever, that could be my thing. Child, she just trying to get to Stansfield. She been trying to get to Stansfield ever since she met Tariq, to be honest. And Monet sees right through it. She's like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, it's too hard to be trying to be in this business and go to school at the same time. Like, you don't need to do that. Which is so wild because it's like so many people on this show are in the business and go to school at the same time. Tariq, Braden, the other little light-skinned girl that Tariq knows from the other school. So it's just like, clearly it's possible. It's just Monet just has such a tight leash on Diana, and it's crazy because in the first season we see her trying to teach Diana how to do all these things to take over, but you won't actually let her make no moves for real. It's like, do you want her just under your thumb or do you want her making moves? Like, which one is it? So while Monet and Diana are talking, a car drives by and it's playing Can You Stand the Rain by New Edition. But when Monet hears the song, she like gets all weird and nostalgic and goes to the window and is like watching. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. So clearly this means something. Then she's just kind of talking to Diana about how it's her and her husband's anniversary, and she just wishes that he was there and that they could like really like, be together for the anniversary and stuff. Back at school in the canonical studies class, they're talking about the question of whether or not the idea of selflessness is real or not, and is it possible to really do something that's truly just completely selfless and that you get nothing from it. And so in the meantime, Zeke is playing basketball with Drew, and he's basically just trying to, like, give him a little bit of, like, physical, activity on his shoulder to try and kind of help him with that. But Drew is just super frustrated. He just gets frustrated because he can't, like, dribble or make a shot or something like that. And they're just kind of talking about everything. As they're talking, Drew ends up letting the cat out the bag that, Monet's whole plan is for them to just follow Zeke to the league, and that's how they're going to get out of the drug game. And as he's telling Zeke this, Zeke is just kind of looking like, ain't that a like, I'm the plan? Like, nobody told me this. And so Zeke is very clearly feeling away. I don't know why Drew would tell him that. I guess Drew is just so angry because of his arm, and he's so mad at Monet, and he blames her so much that he's just venting and not really thinking about what he was saying, because I'm just like, why would you tell him that? I don't think Monet wanted him to know that, because Zeke is just kind of looking like, so this is all you just using me? Because mind you, Monet has come to campus to literally encourage him to not play another year and to go into the league. She did it in a way of like, I feel like this is the best move for you. I feel like this is what's going to be best for you. But it's like, now Drew is letting him know that she really was doing it because you're basically her retirement plan and her way out the drug game. So, rightfully so, Zeke is feeling a way about it. And so while he's standing there talking to Drew, just some random guy comes in who's like a sports agent or something, and he's like, he gives Zeke a card, and Zeke actually takes it, which is like, I don't know if that's a good sign for Auntie Monet, because it's like, if he gets mad at her and decides that I don't want you representing me, I'm going to go get an actual sports agent, then I guess Monet would have to find another retirement plan. So, yeah, Drew, not a good idea, Drew. Not a good idea. But, he's sad. His arm's hurting. He can't draw. What are you going to do? So, we see Tariq go and talk to Councilman Tate. He's basically propositioning him because he's pretty much like, his hands are tied in terms of this whole situation with his little sister going into foster care, and then he doesn't know where his mom is because she's in witness protection, and he needs help. So he's propositioning Councilman Tate to just kind of see if he can get him to help him in any sort of way. And then on the reverse of that, Councilman Tate is wanting to know if he in any way has any connections to Braden's family, because he knows that Congressman Sweeney has connections to that family. Right in the middle of their conversation, Detective Whitman shows up with his weird, angry ass, snatching Tariq away again. I need to talk to you about. And it's just, every time this man shows up, the energy is just, I don't know what it is about him. I don't like him. But anyway, he shows up. He grabs Tariq away. He's like, I need to talk to you. I need to question you about Jabari. He's basically been at the school questioning the students about the Jabari situation. So he's just asking Tariq all these questions, and he ends up asking him about Professor Milgram and Jabari. And so once he asks that, Tariq kind of understands at that point in time, like, oh, he's thinking Carrie Milgram has something to do with this. So then Tariq kind of like feeds him that information, like, well, there were rumors that they had a history with each other, and, they did get into a big argument right before, so he's kind of like feeding him the information. Now, the detective is already hella thirsty for Professor Milgram to be behind it anyway, so he's not gonna question it at all. So he's just eating it up. So then we get us a little lesbian sex scene with Effie, who is the drug dealing friend from the other school that Tariq was at before. Let me know if y'all are the same with this series, but the sex scenes in this season that are like with the students, I'm just like, y'all are kids. Like, I know that Power is like, that's their thing. Explicit sex scenes is their thing. But I'm just like, let's just do the explicit sex scenes with the grown folks, you know? Because, like, I know that obviously, like, the actors in the show, even the ones that are playing students, are grown. But it's like, they're playing like 18 and 19-year-olds. I'm just like, like, let's just do sex scenes with the grown people. Yeah. But anyway, we get a little lesbian sex scene. It's cute or whatever. Brayden ends up busting in on them right in the middle of them doing their thing. He's a cheesy guy, so of course he makes some stupid, corny ass comment about, oh, how about I join you guys or whatever. And so basically he's there to give Effie her portion of the drugs because of course she's distributing at her school for Tariq. Once they get the drugs, Effie is like, hold up, like, these drugs have been stepped on. Now, because I watched Raising Kanan, I know that stepped on means that the drugs have been, like, cut down with something, or, like, it's not, like, drugs. It's like they done put something in it, they cut it down with something, they weakened it or whatever. And so she's pissed about it. Brayden is trying to call Tariq because she's like, I need to, distribute these drugs to people and they've been stepped on. They're no good. In the meantime, Tariq is meeting with Cain. They're in it together when it comes to this Jabari situation. So Tariq is meeting with him just to let him know, like, look, they think Professor Milgram did it. I'm basically like helping feed them information to make it look like she did it. Like, this is how we're gonna deal with this situation. And Cain is just basically like, just whatever, just make sure it doesn't come back on us. And so then we get this super aggressive sex scene with Cooper Saxe and some other lady cop. Mayo sex, it don't be giving. I'm sorry. This is just personal preference. Nothing against you if you partake in the mayo flavored sexual activities, but it was not giving. We see this weird grunty aggressive sex with Cooper Saxe and this chick, and afterwards she's just kind of telling him, I guess she's like a cop or a detective, and she's like telling him a little bit about the Jabari case, and she's basically telling him how they think that Professor Milgram, like, she's like the main suspect, which he immediately questions it. He's immediately like, why would she kill him, and then at the same time she's like, well, there's another familiar name that's involved in the case that came up in the case too, and it's Tariq St. Patrick. And so once she says Tariq St. Patrick's name, of course Cooper Saxe is like, so I feel like Cooper Saxe is gonna be like in the background, like trying to do his own little investigations, because he's just always out to get Tariq. And so I feel like he's gonna be making trouble somewhere along the way, because as soon as she said his name, he was like, yeah, whatever they say he did it. Like, that was the look he was giving when that lady said Tariq's name. So in the meantime, Tariq has been made aware that, Brayden is up there with Effie and the drugs have been stepped on. It's a whole thing. So he needs to get up there. He don't have a car. So he shows up to Diana's. He's like, hey, I need you to drive me to New Haven because it's a situation that's going on. It has to do with the drug situation. And Diana's like, Monet is going to be mad that I left and da-da-da. And I'm just like, girl, Monet is going to be mad that you breathed. Like, everything you do, Monet get mad. Like, do it matter anymore? Like, girl, you are an adult. Go do what you need to do. Monet is mad at every move you make. Like, just do it and deal with it after at this point. But Tariq is like, I need to get up there. I need to handle this. Like, Monet would want me to handle it because it has to do with y'all's supply. And so I guess New Haven is like 3 hours away. And he's like, I need your help. And so, you know, even though Diana knows that like Monet is going to be hella mad, like, you know, she's hella thirsty for Tariq, so she gonna do it regardless. So she drives him up there. Meanwhile, Brayden and Effie they were supposed to deliver some of the drugs to somebody who is hella pissed off because the drugs been stepped on. So the girl that they were supposed to deliver to is like going off like, y'all need to figure this shit out because this has been stepped on and da-da-da. She's going off. She's getting snippy. Effie is getting in her face about it. So her and Effie are going at it. There's a man with her that's, you know, I guess just kind of there like as her backup to protect her, bodyguard, whatever the case may be. So then Effie and the girls start fighting. So then the dude act like he's about to run up. So then Brayden runs up. So then Brayden and the dude start fighting. And then like, you know, Brayden was like holding his own. I think there was a lot of question on like, okay, Brayden, like you want to be in this life, but are you really about this life? And I feel like this was one of those scenes that was like, okay, Brayden is about this life. So after the fight, they're back in Effie's room. Diana and Tariq show up. Diana and Effie have this like little back and forth where it's like, Effie was like, who are you, his girlfriend? And Diana was like, why does it matter? And Tariq was like, no. Like, it's just so funny watching all these girls, Diana and Effie and Lauren, like just kind of like going ham over Tariq. And Tariq literally has way too much dip on his ship to deal with any of y'all, for real. He got bodies, he got drug dealing, he got his sisters in foster care, his mom is in protective custody. Like, he got too much going on to be trying to deal. Like, y'all are all fighting over him for what? Tariq is a headache. You don't want these problems. But child, for whatever reason, all these little girls have just enamored themselves with him, and they are willing to go at it with each other for him. And I'm just like, ladies, like, have higher standards, you know? But anyway, Effie and Diana are kind of going back and forth a little bit about Tariq, but then Effie and Brayden are like, the drugs are stepped on, like they're not good. And Diana is like, how, that's not true. Like, my mom wouldn't da-da-da-da, but they let her see that like the drugs are trash. So Diana goes back home, and of course when she gets home, Monet is like tripping, like, where you been, da 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 da. And Diana lets her know, like, Monet, I was out here, dealing with this situation with Tariq because the drugs that we gave him are like, it's sugar, And so Monet like puts her finger in the drugs and like tastes it, and she's like, oh damn, it is sugar. And then she just like laughs about it and like is like, I guess we baking cakes, and like goes back in the kitchen. And Drew and Diana are like, child, what the hell? And so they're just kind of looking at her like, what in the hell is going on? Because they're expecting her to be like super pissed about it. At this point, Monet has already made it up in her mind that we're getting out of this. So I don't care what happens with them drugs. We done with this life. We finna go ride Zeke's coattails to the league. So then we see Drew the next day. He's sitting outside. He's looking through his old Instagram feed where he used to post his old sketches and stuff. And he's just, clearly he misses drawing. He wishes his hand was better so that he could draw again. And then Cain ends up pulling up on him. And, he says he's there to apologize. He just acknowledges, all his wrongdoing. He lets him know, like, what you said to me at the hospital that night about me just being hella selfish. Like, I really heard that. Like, that really hit me. I really understood that and whatever. And so, he apologizes with him, and he's like, come with me. I want to take you somewhere. He ends up taking him to the gun range. And while there, Drew ends up getting frustrated again because, he tried to pick up the gun to shoot, and of course he can't because of his shoulder. And he's like, I can't do this, because of my shoulder. And so Cain is like, try your other hand. And he's like, I can't shoot with my left hand. And he's like, you can learn though, so he's like, he gives him the gun and he lets Drew like shoot it a few times with his left hand, and Drew starts to get comfortable. He's like, you're gonna have to learn so that you can protect the family. Like, the family is gonna need protection. So after they finish shooting, they're just kind of talking, and Cain is asking like, how is Monet and how is Diana? Drew once again is just like offering up information that is like, were you supposed to give this information out? Like, you was already over at the school telling Zeke like Monet's whole entire plan for leeching off of him, and I don't think you were supposed to tell him that. And now he's like telling Cain like, yeah, the connect that Monet killed, the last shipment he gave us, it was trash, it was stepped on, and da-da-da. And so, of course, Cain hears this. Now, we know that Cain is trying to work with Mecca, and he saw in that airplane hangar that Mecca had all these drugs. So as Drew is telling him, like, yeah, the entire shipment was bad, so we don't have a connect, we don't, we kind of stuck. And Cain is like, I think I can help. But it's just like, Drew, were you supposed to be telling Cain this? I don't know that you were. Apparently, a side effect of Drew getting shot in the arm is he can't keep his mouth shut. So, whatever. So Zeke ends up going to Professor Milgram's house because he's gonna, just to let her know that, hey, I'm gonna have to break things off with you. We probably shouldn't do this no more. I'm gonna go to the league, As he's leaving her house, we see that creepy, weird ass Detective Whitman was sitting outside watching her house. So he sees Zeke leaving. So as soon as Zeke leaves, he busts in there. So Zeke is over here, da-da-da. And he's just going off. He's like, so you was dealing with Jabari, and you dealing with Zeke, and it's kind of like they kind of allude to the fact that Carrie and him have this history, which we kind of already knew they had a history, because when Carrie was talking to her sponsor on the phone when she was headed to go meet him, and she thought they were going on a date, but really they was going to the morgue. And she was like, yeah, somebody came back into my life that I used to know, da-da-da. And so we kind of already knew that she had some sort of history with this Detective Whitman. But from this conversation with them, it's very heated. He's like, why didn't you tell me that you had something going on with Jabari? And she's like, because I knew that you was gonna start putting pieces together and thinking that it was something else based off of what happened between us. So it seems like something was maybe going on with her and Detective Whitman, and maybe she was dealing with Jabari while she was dealing. Maybe there was some overlap, and that's why Whitman is so pissed off with her. But for whatever reason, in this scene, like, it was so clear that this Detective Whitman is he is very angry, and he is out to get her because he's angry. Whatever he thinks happened, he's out to get her. He's pissed at her. Like, he wants her to go down for this because he's mad at her for personal reasons. That's why his sick ass was like getting a kick out of bringing her to the morgue and showing her his dead body. Like, that was just, I cannot get over how he did that. That was so trash of him. He ends up asking her, like, what were you doing the night that this happened, and da-da-da. And she's like, I was with Zeke. Zeke was here. And so he's like, if Zeke doesn't, corroborate this, then you're going down, da-da-da. Meanwhile, Drew goes to Monet, and he's like, guess what? Cain has a new connect for us. And Monet is like, nah. Like, Monet is done. Monet is like, I'm out of this business. We are following Zeke wherever he's at, and that is what we're doing. No more drugs. Like, she is done. So we get Tariq going to Professor Milgram's office. He's talking to her about the situation with his little sister, and how child services has basically come to take her. And while he's in there talking to her, Councilman Tate busts in. He's complaining because he's like, this police presence around here is too much. It's a bad look. They're constantly using my office to do these, interviews with the students and stuff. And he's just complaining to her about that. Meanwhile, Tariq is in Milgram's office, kind of looking around, looking through her drawers and stuff, and then we see that he pulls out that phone. That phone is the last number that Jabari called or texted before he died. Whoever has this phone is gonna basically be considered to be the one who killed Jabari. So we see Tariq opening Carrie's drawer like he's about to plant the phone in there, because now his plan is to go ahead and let Professor Milgram go down for Jabari's death. So he's in there doing all this while Councilman Tate is out there talking to Professor Milgram. Eventually Tariq comes out the office and he's just like, I gotta go or whatever. And Professor Milgram is just basically letting Councilman Tate know he's such a good kid. And it's just girl, he might have just framed you for murder, but okay, girl, whatever you say. So Monet is at her conjugal visit with her prison bae, and she's basically just venting to him about everything that's going on. And she's just talking about how this is not the life she wanted, how she wants more for herself, she wants more for her life. Her husband's asking her about Cain because it's their anniversary, and so she brought a card. The kids had signed the card. He's like, Cain's signature is not on here. And Monet is basically just I can't trust Cain. We don't have a connect no more. He's saying he has a connect for us, but I can't trust him. And her husband is basically like, no, you need to, if Cain has a connect, that's the answer to y'all's problems. You need to get your shit together, connect with Cain, do what you gotta do. And I was glad he gave her that pep talk, because Monet, girl, you signed up for this and you didn't crack under pressure. You cracked and folded completely under pressure, and I expect some more from you. So I'm glad he gave her that pep talk. That's what she needed, so she could get her mind right and get her head together, because girl, Tasha St. Patrick would never. Okay, well, actually Tasha St. Patrick probably would. Raising Kanan's mama would never. I can't remember what her name is. Anyway, different series. He gives her a pep talk, tells her to get her mind right, tells her to go connect with Cain, get with that connect so they can continue on with the business and quit tripping. So after she leaves from her conjugal visit, she meets with Cain, and she basically lets him know, look, I'm willing to, offer up a truce. You need to prove that I can trust you. We're willing to work with you. Whoever your connect is, whatever, you can move back home. I still am not 100% back to trusting you. You're gonna need to prove that I can trust you, basically. And, Cain is happy because that was his plan all along, to get back in the house. Now, at the end of the day, we know that Cain still does not like the fact that Monet is in charge, and we know that Cain feels that he should be in charge, but ultimately he wanted to get back in the house, and now he's back in the house. So half of mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Diana goes up to Effie's school, and she's basically wants to talk to Effie about, how is it that you are managing to be a student, do the school thing, and then also do the drug thing. I need you to teach me how to do it. Diana is hell-bent on going to school, getting this degree in accounting or whatever. I can't really tell if she really wants to do it so that she can do more for the drug business, or if she's just trying to be close to Tariq. Child, I don't know. Probably a little bit of both, honestly. She's gonna basically be doing this behind Monet's back, which, girl, how? But either way, that's her plan. So she's talking to Effie, and Effie's basically first things first, you need to be able to think logically, you need to be able to think critically about the drug stuff. And she's when it comes to y'all's stash, you're saying that whoever your mom's connect would not have given you bad product. She's so think critically about it. Who would benefit from y'all's supply being bad. And so that gets Diana to kind of thinking, that gets her mind to kind of going, because she was thinking the whole time that something was fishy about that whole situation. And so once Effie like puts it to her like that, it gets her mind kind of going like, Meanwhile, Cain is with Mecca, and guess what we find out? We find out that he is the one that took Monet Nim's product, messed it up, and brought back the stepped-on stuff. And the reason he did it was so that they would need him to get them product from Mecca. And so Mecca realizes what Cain did, and he's like, dang, you did this to your own family or whatever. And Cain is like, no, I just created a solution for them and an opportunity for myself. Child, whatever makes you sleep better at night, Cain. So Cooper Saxe is talking to Davis, and he's basically telling him that like somehow Tariq is mixed up in the Jabari murder, and Cooper Saxe is telling Davis like, I feel like Tariq has something to do with it, or he's somehow involved. And he's telling Davis the main suspect that they have right now is Professor Milgram. And so when he says this, Davis kind of perks up a little bit, and so it's like kind of clear that like, oh, he must know who Professor Milgram is. So back at the school, we see Councilman Tate and Professor Milgram. They're about to leave for the day. Tate is still being hella creepy and weird and predatory with her, and like, oh, we're both leaving at the same time. Do you want to walk out together? And just giving super weird vibe. But during this scene, we see Carrie go and open her drawer, and it's the drawer where we thought Tariq had planted that phone. When she opens the drawer, we see that Tariq did not put the phone in there. And so then in the next scene, we're at the hazing party for this fraternity that Braden's brother and dad want him to join. And so it's this huge frat party. They're doing all this weird hazing shit. While they're at this thing, there's like a bonfire, and we see Tariq there, and he pulls the phone out, and he takes the little chip out of it, he throws it into the bonfire, and then he throws the phone into the bonfire, and it's like that's the end of his connection with his mother. Now, even if his mother has the ability to reach out to him, she won't have a number to do so. So, you know, we hate that for him, but also it's good that the phone is destroyed now, because like it's literally connects you to a murder. So, you know, it is what it is. This is the life you wanted to live, young Tariq. So in the meantime, Lauren ends up showing up with her extra thirsty self, and her and Tariq, they go walk off somewhere together. At the Tejada house, family's having dinner, and Cain shows up. And so, you know, Monet is just like, you know, Cain is back. He sits down. They're all having dinner. Diana is just kind of side-eyeing him, and you can kind of tell that Diana is really kind of questioning, like, okay, so back to this question about who would have gained from destroying our product, and now all of a sudden Cain is back in the fold, and he has a connection to product, so you could tell that her brain is kind of like, you know, she's putting two and two together. Meanwhile, they hear something outside, and Monet goes outside to see what it is, and somebody has knocked their trash cans over. And so Monet is just kind of looking like, you know, she's just kind of looking around. What's going on, Monet? All these like weird little things happening. Like, what's going on, sis? And clearly, like, she's looking around like this means something to her. So meanwhile, back at school, Lauren is taking Therese up to a rooftop. They're talking. Of course, any conversation with Lauren ends up with her trying to throw herself at Tariq. So they start making out, and Tariq's phone rings. She gets pissed. She's basically just like, you know, every time we get close, you know, you have to run off. You have to do da-da-da-da. And it's just like, girl, you are throwing yourself on him, not the other way around. So you know he has all this stuff going on. Only thing you worried about is like pushing up on him. Like, girl, you're annoying. You're very annoying. But anyway, she gets mad. She storms off. And as she's storming off, Tariq gets a phone call. It's Diana. And she's basically letting him know, like, we got a new connect. So more product is coming. So, get ready. And she's basically like, you're going to need to, have a place to store it. He's basically like, oh, I got the perfect spot. So then we're at Professor Milgram's house and Davis pulls up on her. It was alluded to that they might have knew each other. And so Davis pulls up on Milgram and he's like, oh, I just wanted to check on you. I heard about Jabari. I heard about da-da-da-da. But apparently they had some type of bad blood because Milgram is not trying to hear it. She's like, yeah, thanks for the condolences, but child, I'm not trying to hear from you. She basically slams the door in his face and, sends him to step in. And then she immediately calls Zeke, but Zeke is in the middle of smashing some Becky who is like asking him about basketball and, oh, what team do you think you're going to play for? Do you think you're going to play for the Knicks? And, she's just giving very much groupie vibes, and you can tell that like Zeke is not feeling it. As they're smashing, Detective Whitman busts in the door. I need to talk to you right now. Da da da. And it's just like, why is Detective Whitman so angry and aggressive every time we see him? Seriously, what is wrong with him? Like, listen, Detective Whitman is gonna end up doing something real crazy and real trash. I just feel it because the vibes that he gives every time he appears is just so trash. Like, why are you always busting up and people grabbing them, snatching them up? Like, you don't know how to knock on the door and say, hey, can I pull you to the side for questioning? Like, why you so... It's just, it was crazy. So he busts in the room. Clear dude is literally in the middle of smashing somebody. He don't care. Get up. I need to take you for questioning. Da da da. And it's like, it feels very much like the anger is because he knows that Zeke has been smashing Professor Milgram, and whatever has happened between Detective Whitman and Professor Milgram, like, he is just very much in his feelings about it, and it just seems like he's just taking this anger out everywhere he goes. And it's just, look, if Tariq is gonna kill somebody else, kill him. So we get to the very last scene. We see Monet pulling up in a car by herself. She's pulling up to meet somebody who is in the shadows, who's lurking in the shadows. Person come out the shadows. It's Mecca. And apparently the driving past, playing Can You Stand the Rain, and the knocking the trash cans over was some sort of sign that they used to do when they were younger. Apparently they have a history with each other. Mecca is like, I can't believe you remembered the song or whatever. And Monet is like, I can't believe my dad never knew it was you that was knocking the trash cans over. So basically it seems like they have this history with each other. That was their sign to each other to like come out and meet, was to drive by playing that song and then to knock the trash cans over outside. At this point, I'm even more like, this Mecca situation is even more confusing to me, because now I'm like, okay, he has this history with Monet. He's working with Cain. He's now their connect. But Monet doesn't know that. So I'm like, is Mecca gonna tell Monet, like, yeah, I'm the connect that's working with Cain? Or is this going to be like some whole little secret thing? It's a lot going on. Was he just using Cain to get close to Monet? Because he didn't need to use Cain to get close to Monet. Like, he could have just did all this shit, drove past playing the song. He could have did all that without working with Cain. So what is the ulterior motive for working with this woman's son? And like, are you even gonna tell her? Like, it's so much. So I'm like, I can't wait to see how this whole thing plays out. I just don't think it's gonna be a good situation. And I just don't fully trust Mecca. And also, like, I need to see how this Detective Whitman situation plays out, because I just feel like he's gonna blow up and do something like trash. Like, he is very much like, he wants to hurt Professor Milgram. Like, he wants her to go down for this murder. And I feel like if it gets to a point where, like, even if Zeke is like, yeah, I was with her that night, and like alibis her fully, I don't feel like Detective Whitman is gonna stop going after her. I think he's gonna like be willing to go so far as to like do unethical stuff to make her be punished for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, he has like so much anger towards her. Like, I just don't know how this is gonna break down. I'm nervous for Professor Milgram because that Whitman dude, he got some hatred for her and he's out to get her. And I'm nervous for Monet and Cain because I don't trust Mecca. But we gonna see what happens. I felt like this was a really, really, really good episode. I love the storylines of this season. All of the different storylines, like, they could kind of go anywhere. So I'm dying to see how this plays out. Now, my one prediction is that we're gonna get a sex scene with Davis and Professor Milgram. And I'm here for it. I'm just like, I'm here for it. So I'll be waiting on that. Why am I such a pervert? But anyway, just whatever scene they were going to have with Cooper Saxe, delete that, strike that out, give us Professor Milgram and Davis. Please, please, please. All right. That's all I got for y'all. If y'all haven't seen my recap of episode 1, make sure you check that out. And I will see y'all for episode 3.